The lab was quiet, too quiet for a place full of alien scientists. Bright lights glowed from every machine. Strange beeping sounds echoed in the air. Creatures from across the galaxy were walking around, wearing white lab coats and blinking with multiple eyes. But all eyes were on one man, the human. Dr. Ethan Graves stood in the center of the alien research lab looking both excited and nervous. He was the only human scientist allowed to work inside the Galactic Science Hub. It was a rare honor. "Please do not touch anything," warned a tall, insect-like alien with long arms. "Human curiosity is dangerous." Ethan gave a short laugh. "Don't worry, I'll behave." But the truth was, Ethan was curious. He always had been. That's what made him such a good scientist. And now, inside this alien lab filled with unknown tech and secrets, his fingers itched to explore. The main room had a circular control panel. It was covered with glowing buttons, some green, some red. Each had alien symbols he couldn't read. But one button stood out. It was big. It was bright. It was red, and humans always had one weakness. They couldn't resist pressing red buttons. Ethan looked around. No one was watching him. The other scientists were busy scanning data, writing reports and running tests on something in a glass chamber. He took one slow step forward, then another. His eyes locked on the red button like it was calling him. Just a peek, he thought. What's the worst that could happen? He reached out, his finger hovered over it. Then, click. A deep hum filled the room. The lights dimmed. Machines started to shake. Every alien froze. A short alien screamed, "What did you do?" Ethan stepped back, hands raised. I just touched. I didn't mean..." Suddenly a loud blast of light shot from the center console. The glass chamber in the back of the room cracked. Liquid poured out. Alarms began to ring. Smoke rose from the machines. Then, silence. Everything stopped. Gyam. Red button no longer glowed. The lights slowly returned to normal. The alarms faded. Everyone stood still, eyes wide. Ethan looked at the chamber. It was now empty. But something had moved inside. "Is everyone okay?" he asked, his voice shaking. "No," the tall alien said coldly. "Something has escaped." From behind the broken glass, soft footsteps were heard. Something was moving through the smoke. Then they saw her. A girl, but not an ordinary girl. She had glowing blue skin that shimmered like water. Her silver hair floated gently around her shoulders. She had no clothes, just soft alien fabric barely covering her. Her eyes were large, bright, and glowing, like twin stars. The room fell completely silent. Ethan's mouth opened slightly. That wasn't supposed to happen. The girl looked around, confused. She was breathing hard like she had just been born. Her glowing eyes locked onto Ethan. Then she took a step forward. She whispered in a soft voice. "You created me." "What?" Ethan blinked. No, I didn't create anyone." But she was already walking toward him. "I was trapped in the machine, dreaming. But when you touched the light, I woke up. You gave me life." The tall alien shouted. "She is one of the forbidden clones. She was never meant to be awakened." Ethan felt cold all over. "A clone? Of what?" The alien didn't answer. The girl reached Ethan and placed her glowing hand on his chest. "You are my master," she said softly. The other scientists screamed in panic. "Break the link, before it completes. It's too late. She's bonded to him." Ethan took a step back. "Bonded? What does that mean?" The girl held his hand tightly. "Where you go, I go. Where you stay, I stay." "Oh no," Ethan whispered. The door to the lab burst open. Security bots stormed in with weapons drawn. One of them spoke in a deep voice. "The Empress has been notified. You will all be detained." Ethan raised his hands again. "Wait, I didn't mean to press it. It was an accident." The girl turned toward the bots, her glowing eyes becoming brighter. "You will not hurt him," she said calmly. Before anyone could react, a wave of energy blasted from her body. The bots were thrown back into the hallway like feathers in a windstorm. Silence followed again. Ethan stared at her, completely shocked. "What are you?" She looked back at him with a soft smile. "I don't know, but I belong to you." She stood barefoot on the cold lab floor, silver hair falling like moonlight over her shoulders, still holding Ethan's hand like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. But everyone else in the lab had already taken 10 steps back. The lead alien scientist, Dr. Vorthan, trembled as he stared at her. "That's impossible. That prototype was erased over a century ago." Ethan blinked. "Wait, prototype?" Zira, the alien girl, looked confused. "My name was never given, but I feel like Zira. Does that mean something?" Dr. Vorthan's mandibles clicked rapidly. That name belonged to the Empress's failed royal clone project. It was abandoned, shut down, erased from records. No one, not even the Empire, knew where she was stored. "And now she's here," Ethan muttered. "Because I pressed a button." Zira tilted her head. "You woke me. I felt it. The spark. Your energy. You are not like the ones who made me sleep." Ethan wanted to laugh, cry, and throw up all at once. "This is insane," a junior alien researcher whispered. "If the Empire finds out she exists, and they'll destroy the entire facility." Another voice added, "And kill him. He bonded with her." Zira looked around as fear and panic spread like wildfire. "I don't want to cause harm," she said gently. "I only want to stay with him." Dr. Vorthan's voice turned sharp. "You don't understand. Your existence is a war crime. You are forbidden technology, and he pointed a shaking finger at Ethan, is now the only key keeping you stable." Zira blinked. "What happens if I leave him?" "Your mind will collapse. Your energy signature will destabilize. You'll die," Vorthan said grimly. Ethan shook his head. No, that's not fair. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this." Zira flinched, but then she smiled softly. "Yet, you haven't let go of my hand." He looked down. He hadn't. Suddenly, the walls shook. An alarm flared. Dr. Vorthan turned pale. "They're here." "Who's here?" Ethan asked quickly. "Imperial enforcers," Vorthan said. "The Empress must have felt the clone awaken. She'll send her blackguard to erase every witness." Ethan's heart pounded. "Then we need to run." "You won't get far," said one of the guards. "Their ships move through fold space. No one escapes them." Zira looked at Ethan calmly. "Then let me protect you." Before he could reply, she raised her hand. A glowing blue shield formed around them, humming with energy. Ethan gasped. It felt alive. It pulsed with something, deep and ancient, something that wasn't just tech. Zira's eyes glowed brighter. "Let them come." Just then the lab doors exploded. Armored soldiers in black and red stormed in with laser rifles and plasma whips. Their leader, a tall warrior with burning red eyes, stepped forward. "Target located," she said. "Royal clone and bonded human. Orders, terminate." Ethan shouted. "Wait, listen, she's not a threat." But the leader raised her weapon. Zira didn't move. The bolt of plasma struck the shield, then bounced off like light against glass. The energy reflected back, hitting one of the soldiers square in the chest. He dropped like a stone. The other guards froze. "What kind of clone is that?" one hissed. "She has human DNA now." Another muttered. "It's changed her," the leader barked. "Fire!" Dozens of shots filled the air, but nothing touched them. Zira raised both hands, and a wave of shimmering light surged outward. The guards were lifted off their feet and thrown into the walls, stunned but alive. Zira fell to her knees, gasping. The energy took a toll. Ethan rushed to her side. "Zira, are you okay?" She looked up at him. "They're not dead. I didn't want to hurt them." He stared at her, stunned. "You had the power to kill them all, and you chose not to?" "I only want to live," she said softly, "and be with you." A voice crackled through the lab speakers. It was cold, it was cruel, it was the Empress herself. Human, you have done the unthinkable. You have awakened a forbidden creation. Return her now, or your planet will burn. Ethan stood, fury rising in his chest. Then I guess I'm not going back alone. He looked down at Zira. I'm taking her with me. The stolen ship trembled as it escaped the planet's gravity. Inside, Dr. Ethan Graves sat in the cockpit, hands shaking on the controls. He wasn't a pilot, he was a scientist, a curious one. And curiosity had just turned his life upside down. Zira sat beside him, quiet, glowing softly in the dim cabin light. Her blue skin shimmered, her silver hair floating like silk in the low gravity. She had not spoken since they fled. He glanced at her. Are you okay? Her glowing eyes turned to him slowly. You don't understand what you've done. Do you? Ethan exhaled. Honestly, I don't understand any of this. Zira stood and walked toward the back of the cabin where a small bed and medkit rested. She touched the wall, feeling the metal with her fingers. This is freedom, she whispered. I've only ever known cold glass and silence. Ethan got up and followed her. Zira, I need answers. Why do you keep calling me your master? I'm not your creator. She turned slowly, her eyes glowing deeper. But I feel it. When you touched the console, my pod opened. I heard your voice first. My eyes saw you first. You gave me life. Ethan shook his head. I didn't mean to. I just pressed a button. Zira smiled faintly. Creation does not need intention. Life responds to energy, and you gave me yours. He stepped back, unsure. But you're a clone. A failed project. That's what the scientists said. Her expression changed. She stepped closer slowly. Do I look failed to you? Ethan's heart skipped. No, but that's not the point. She looked down at her hand. They made me in a lab, gave me memories that weren't mine. But the moment I saw you, the memories stopped feeling borrowed. I started feeling real. He sat down slowly on the edge of the bed. Zira, I'm just a guy who came to study alien tech. I'm not a leader. I'm not a hero. I'm not someone who should be responsible for a living being. She knelt in front of him. But you are, whether you accept it or not. I can't survive without you now. Our bond is sealed. Ethan looked away. And what happens if I mess up again? Zira gently took his hand. Then we mess up together. A soft alarm beeped in the ship's console. Ethan got up and checked the screen. Looks like a patrol. Ship scanned us. We need to stay off grid. Zira walked up behind him. Let me help. Ethan stared at the controls. Do you even know how any of this works? Zira closed her eyes. The console flickered. Buttons pressed themselves. The patrol signal vanished. Ethan's jaw dropped. You hacked the ship. No, she said, softly. The ship listened to me. He stepped back. How? I don't know. Something's changing inside me. My mind, it's learning. Fast. Before Ethan could ask more, the room's lights dimmed and a holographic screen blinked to life. It showed her face. Glowing, alien, powerful. A message was broadcasting. Zira looked at the screen in shock. That's me. The broadcast voice spoke in many alien tongues at once. Prototype Zira is alive. All units initiate capture protocol. Human connection detected, target classified priority alpha. Ethan cursed under his breath. They're hunting us. Zira turned to him. You don't have to stay with me, you can leave. I'll understand. Ethan looked at her carefully. No, I'm the one who started this. I won't abandon you. Her eyes widened. Why? He gave a half smile. Because that's what humans do. When we make a mess, we clean it up, and we protect our friends. Zira touched her chest, feeling something stir. A heartbeat. Not just from science, but something new. Something hers, I think, she said slowly, you didn't just give me life. You gave me purpose. Ethan nodded. Then we better figure out what that purpose is, before the entire galaxy crashes down on us, Zira whispered. Then, let's run. Together. And with that, the human and the clone who was never meant to exist, both hunted, both unwanted, vanished into the stars. But what neither knew yet was that Zira was not the only clone awakened that day. Deep in space, in the shadows between suns, the Imperial fleet moved like silent predators. At the heart of the lead ship, Empress Vylora stood in her private chamber. Her crimson armor shimmered under low lights. Her cold golden eyes stared at the hologram of the clone girl who should not exist, Zira. She was erased, Vylora said in a voice like ice. Her pod was sealed in a vault designed to decay. A robotic advisor hovered nearby. Yet she lives, and she is bonded to the human. A civilian named Dr. Ethan Graves. The Empress narrowed her eyes. Then he has something I don't. That makes him dangerous. On a small moon covered in jagged rock, Ethan and Zira landed the stolen ship under a camouflage net. They couldn't stay long. The Empire was spreading its eyes across space, and Zira's image was now on every bounty board in the galaxy. Ethan paced back and forth, chewing on a protein bar. They're going to find us, it's just a matter of time. Zira sat on a rock, her long silver hair tied back now, her blue skin slightly dimmed. She looked tired, but calm. You worry too much, she said gently. I feel when danger is near. Our bond warns me. Ethan shook his head. That's not normal. You keep saying things that sound mystical, but I'm a scientist. This shouldn't be happening. She stood, walked to him, and touched his chest lightly. Then stop being a scientist for a moment and be human. Before he could answer, his communicator buzzed, static first, then a voice. Ethan Graves, this is Captain Rena Tyrex of the Alliance Watch. We're here to help. Respond now. He froze. The Watch? How did they find us? Zira looked at the sky. They didn't. Someone betrayed us. Seconds later, a sleek black ship appeared above the canyon. Not Alliance. It bore the blood-red symbol of the Empress. Ethan grabbed Zira's hand. Run. The ground shook as black-armored soldiers dropped from the sky like shadows. One of them raised a glowing net launcher. Zira turned sharply, her glowing hands forming a barrier. But this time, the net was different, coated with anti-clone tech. It struck the shield and burned through. Zira screamed in pain and collapsed. No! Ethan shouted, pulling her close. The leader of the team stepped forward, a woman with a scar across her metallic jaw. You are property of the Empire, she said coldly. You don't have rights. Ethan's eyes blazed with fury. She's not property. She's a person. She's a weapon, the soldier corrected. And you are a virus infecting her programming. Zira, still weak, looked up. Don't touch him. A wave of psychic force blasted out, but only weakly. The net was draining her. Ethan did the only thing he could. He reached into his bag and activated the emergency wormhole beacon, the one tool the lab had warned him never to use. A bright blue flash swallowed them both. Gone. Moments later, the Y soldier stood over a blackened rock. They escaped, said her second in command. The leader clenched her fists. They won't run forever. The Empress has declared them top priority. What now? She looked up at the sky. Now we burn every moon they might land on. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Ethan and Zira crashed into an abandoned orbital station near a gas giant. The beacon had worked. Barely. Ethan groaned as he pulled himself from broken wiring. Well, that was definitely not in the travel guide. Zira was unconscious, her breathing shallow. He carried her into the control room and laid her on the floor. Her skin was flickering, fading between light and dark. She's dying, Ethan whispered. Because of me. The station's AI powered up after decades of sleep. "State request," it asked in a metallic voice. Ethan knelt beside Zira. "Medical. I need anything. Please." "Unauthorized genetic profile detected. Subject unstable. Danger level rising." "Override. She's not dangerous," Ethan shouted. The system paused. "Override accepted. Reason. Human emotional." Link registered as priority. Mechanical arms moved from the ceiling and began scanning Zira's body. Ethan leaned close. "Hold on. Don't leave me. I didn't choose this, but I choose you now." Her hand twitched. Her eyes slowly opened. "I heard you," she whispered, weakly. "In the dark, your voice pulled me back." Ethan laughed through his tears. "You stubborn, incredible girl." Zira smiled. "The Empire is coming." "I know," Ethan said. "Then we better get ready." The stars outside the broken station looked peaceful, but peace was a lie. Inside, alarms blared. The station's old engines hummed weakly. Ethan stood at the control panel, sweat dripping down his face. His hands moved fast, trying to reroute power to navigation. Every screen showed the same warning. "Imperial ships detected. Inbound." Zira stood behind him, her glowing eyes dimmer than before. The energy net had weakened her. She looked stronger now, but not like before. "We can't fight them this time," Ethan muttered. Zira didn't argue. She simply placed her hand on the panel. The screens flickered. A new path appeared, through a nebula storm no sane pilot would dare cross. Ethan looked at her. "You want us to fly through that?" She nodded. "It's chaos, but I can guide us. The storm bends light. The Empire won't see us inside." "I thought you were half dead." "I am," she replied. "But I'd rather die flying with you than be captured in chains." Minutes later, the station's emergency cruiser launched from its hangar. A tiny craft, barely armed. Behind it, 3 Imperial warships appeared, their crimson hulls glowing with menace. The chase had begun. Inside the small cockpit, Ethan gripped the controls tight. Zira sat beside him, her hands resting on glowing threads of energy connected to the ship's systems. "I can feel the storm already," she said. "It's alive." "What do you mean alive?" "The nebula. It shifts with emotion, it remembers things, it listens." Ethan glanced sideways. "You sure you're not going space crazy?" Zira smiled faintly. "Would you believe me if—" I said no. "No," he said, grinning despite the danger. "But I like hearing your voice." Zira looked away, a hint of blush on her glowing cheeks. Outside, the ship dove into the swirling mists of the nebula. Colors danced. Blue, green, purple, and flashes of lightning lit up giant gas clouds. The ship shook violently. Behind them, the Imperial ships followed, but slower. Their scanners were blind inside the storm. "They're losing us," Ethan whispered. "It's working." Then bang. Something massive slammed against their hull. Ethan's screen went black for a second. "What was that?" Zira closed her eyes. "The storm has guardians, creatures of gas and shadow." As if answering her, a giant glowing serpent slithered past the cockpit. Its body stretched miles long, made of starlight and dust. Ethan froze. "We're flying through a god." "It won't harm us," Zira said. "Not unless it senses fear." "Great," Ethan muttered. "No pressure?" He focused. Steady hands. Calm breath. His eyes locked on the flight path. The serpent brushed the cruiser's wing. The ship groaned but held steady. Then it turned, twisting around the Imperial ships. The warships fired in panic, too late. The serpent wrapped around them like a ribbon. In a flash of lightning, all 3 ships vanished into light. Zira opened her eyes. "The storm chose us." Ethan exhaled deeply. "Remind me to never doubt you again." Later, far from danger, the cruiser floated near a quiet blue planet. "Ethan," Checked the readings. We'll need supplies, fuel, food, rest. Zira nodded. And answers. About what? About me. Ethan looked at her. You're already the most incredible person I've ever met. But I'm not a person, she said quietly. I'm a design, a copy, a mistake. He stood and walked to her. You protected me. You saved lives. You're more than they ever expected. That's not a mistake. She looked at him, unsure. He gently touched her cheek. Let's find out who you really are. Together. She nodded, and for the first time, smiled without fear, but unknown to them, high above that quiet blue world. A small satellite blinked. A message was sent. Coordinates to the Empress. The quiet blue planet looked like a safe haven. It wasn't. As Ethan and Zira stepped onto the surface, they didn't know they were being watched. Hidden deep inside a crumbling research station, an old satellite had already sent their location straight to the Empress. And now the clock was ticking. The planet was called Calros, forgotten by most maps, abandoned after a mining collapse centuries ago. But to Ethan it was perfect. Oxygen-rich, unmonitored, and quiet. For the first time in days they could breathe. Zira sat beneath a rusted tower, her hands in the soil. This world, it feels untouched, clean, like it wants to grow again. Ethan smiled. Maybe we can help it, a fresh start for both of us. He handed her a nutrient bar. You need energy. Your powers are still weak. Zira took it but didn't eat. They're changing, Ethan. I'm not just healing. I'm evolving. I feel it. He sat beside her. What does that mean? She looked up at the gray clouds. It means I'm no longer what they created. I'm becoming something they never planned. Ethan stared at her. Maybe that's what scares them. Before Zira could answer, a sharp ping echoed from the station's console nearby. A ship had entered orbit, not 1, 3. Ethan ran to the panel. No, 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 no! Zira joined him. Her face was calm, but her eyes were glowing again. They found us, she said. Ethan's voice trembled. We need to run. Zira shook her head. No. Ethan blinked. What do you mean, no? She looked at him with steady eyes. All this time we've run. We've hidden. We've survived. But we haven't fought. Not really. You're not strong enough, he argued. I don't need to be strong, she said. I need to be right, and I'm done being hunted. Hours later, as the sun began to set, the Empire's ships landed with thunder and smoke. Black-armored soldiers spread across the hills. Drones scanned every inch of ground. Their commander, a tall, horned alien in gold-trimmed armor, raised a beacon staff. Human Ethan Graves, his voice boomed across the valley. You are harboring stolen Imperial property. Surrender the clone and be spared. Inside the station, Ethan loaded his only weapon, a plasma cutter. It wasn't meant for battle. Zira stood beside him, now wearing armor crafted from old parts. Her hands glowed with faint light. You don't have to do this, Ethan said quietly. Yes, I do, she replied. For me. For others like me who were never even given a chance. Then she stepped outside. The commander spotted her. So, you survived. Zira stood tall. I did more than survive. I learned. I felt. I chose. Things your Empress will never understand. The commander raised a weapon. You belong to her. Zira raised her hand. Not to attack, but to speak. All my life I heard voices in my head, programmed thoughts, echoes of what they wanted me to be. But since I met Ethan, those voices are silent. And for the first time, my voice is my own. Though, soldiers hesitated. The commander laughed. Pretty words. They won't save you. Zira smiled. I'm not here to be saved. I'm here to wake up the galaxy. She pressed her palm to a small device she had secretly built inside the old station, connected to the Empire's forgotten satellite grid. And just like that, her image went live. across hundreds of systems. Zira's voice now echoed across alien screens, inside ships, homes, and palaces. I was made to obey, but I chose to think. If you're hearing this, know that the Empire lies. They build perfection, then destroy it when it thinks for itself. But I'm proof we can change that. The commander's eyes widened. Shut it down. Cut the signal. Too late. The galaxy had heard her. Back in the valley, the soldiers didn't move. Zira stepped forward. Do you still believe I'm just a weapon? Some dropped their rifles. One by one, they turned and left. The commander stood frozen, his army dissolving around him. You've corrupted them, he said. No, Zira replied. I've freed them. Ethan stepped beside her. Together, they watched the enemy ship rise, alone. That night, in the quiet after victory, Ethan sat by the fire with Zira. You didn't just fight back, he whispered. You changed the rules. Zira looked at him, eyes glowing faintly under the stars. I didn't want to be their mistake, she said. So I became their truth. And somewhere out in the stars, the Empress screamed. The stars above Calros shimmered like silent witnesses. News of Zira's broadcast had spread like fire through the galaxy. She was no longer a secret, no longer a mistake. She had become a symbol. In the capital world of the Galactic Empire, Empress Valora stood on her balcony, her golden eyes locked on the glowing news feed circling above her. Zira's speech played again and again, echoing across alien worlds, igniting riots, protests, hope. One of her advisors approached nervously. My Empress, the people are questioning the clone laws. Some say she speaks truth. Valora's face twisted. She was never meant to speak. She was born in silence. She belongs to me. The advisor bowed. What shall we do? Valora turned, her voice sharp. We find her, we crush her, and we bring the human in chains. But far from the throne world, Ethan and Zira stood inside a hidden base built by rebels, scientists, and former soldiers, those who believed her. It had only been a week since the transmission. Now hundreds had come to find her. Some brought gifts. Some brought questions. Some brought their children. Zira, once feared and hunted, was now being called the first free clone, the living voice, the spark of change. She didn't want a throne. She didn't want power. All she wanted was to be real, and she was. Inside a quiet chamber, Ethan sat at a workbench, repairing a drone with shaky hands. Zira entered, holding a small glowing stone from Calros's forests. You never stop working, she said softly. He looked up, smiling. It keeps my brain from exploding. She stepped closer. You helped me become more than they expected. He chuckled. And you made me more than I ever dreamed. Zira hesitated, then held out the stone. I want to give you something. Ethan took it carefully. What is it? She looked down, almost shy. It's part of me. I bonded to this planet, and it listens to emotion. If you ever feel lost, it will glow again. Ethan stared at her, touched. You know, I never expected to fall for someone made in a lab. She smirked. And I never expected to love a man who broke the universe with a red button. He laughed. Oops. She giggled, then leaned in and kissed him, soft, warm, real. But the moment didn't last long. An alarm buzzed. A voice crackled over the eye. Intercom. Enemy vessel approaching. Massive class. Empress's flagship confirmed. Ethan stood quickly. They found us. Zira didn't flinch. Let them come. He stared at her. You're ready? She nodded. This time we don't. Run. The next hour was chaos. The Empress's ship hovered over the base like a dark cloud. Zira stood at the center of the courtyard, surrounded by allies, former enemies, clones, aliens, and humans. From above, Violora descended in a golden pod, landing before them like a fallen god. She stepped forward, slow and powerful. Zira, she said coldly, return to me. You belong to the Empire. Zira took a breath. I belong to no one. The Empress raised her hand. Then you die with your human. She unleashed a bolt of dark energy. Zira didn't move, but the crowd behind her did. Together, all, their minds, hearts, and voices connected to her. A wave of pure light exploded outward, not from her body but from her bond with everyone. It struck the Empress full force. Her armor cracked. She fell to her knees. The pod behind her shattered. Zira stepped closer. This is the new empire, one where voices are not made but heard. Phalora vanished in a blink of light, teleported away by her own emergency failsafe. The war was over, but the movement had just begun. Days later, Zira stood before the Galactic Council. She spoke not as a clone, not as a weapon, but as a citizen. I was born from wires and glass. But I live because of love, not just Ethan's, but the galaxy's. Every being deserves freedom, no matter how they began. The council voted, and the Clone Rights Act passed. That night, under the stars, Zira and Ethan walked side by side through the glowing forests of Calros. Do you ever think about what might have happened? Ethan asked. If I hadn't touched that button? She smiled. Yes. He grinned. And? She squeezed his hand. Then none of this, none of me, would have existed. He chuckled. Oops. Zira laughed, glowing brighter than ever, and the stars above them seemed to laugh, too.